February 19, 2016. Altiplano Maximum Security Prison, Mexico. Guard Ramón Castillo walks El Chapo down a fluorescent-lit corridor, the drug lord in full restraints, 12 other guards watching. Chapo makes a comment about Castillo's wife. Crude, specific, caught on prison audio. Castillo snaps. He spits directly in El Chapo's face. Spit runs down Chapo's cheek. Chapo says nothing, doesn't flinch, just stares. His eyes drop to Castillo's name badge. R. Castillo, Guard 4721. The badge reflects the overhead lights like a target. Other guards freeze, pull Castillo back, knowing what they just witnessed. The transfer continues. Chapo is loaded into the armored transport, badge number already memorized. Castillo goes home that night thinking prison walls protect him, thinking his uniform means something. 72 hours later, joggers find his body in a Guadalajara drainage ditch. His tongue is gone. His name badge is pinned to his chest with a knife. By February 2016, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was already a legend wrapped in concrete and steel. He'd escaped from Mexican prisons twice, first in 2001, hidden in a laundry cart, then in July 2015 through a mile-long tunnel dug directly under his cell. The second escape humiliated the Mexican government, triggered an international manhunt, made headlines for 6 months. When they recaptured him in January 2016, the world watched. Billions in drug revenue, decades of cartel violence, and now he was back in Altiplano Maximum Security, the prison he'd embarrassed 6 months earlier. Even in chains, even in an 8x12 cell, Chapo controlled more than most men ever would. Guards smuggled messages, took bribes, treated him with deference that had nothing to do with regulations. The surface looked like justice. Captured criminal, maximum security, constant surveillance. The reality was different. Chapo ran operations from behind bars, maintained power through fear and money, kept the Sinaloa cartel functioning while sitting in isolation. But one guard didn't understand who he was dealing with. Ramón Castillo was 34, married with 2 kids, 6 years on the job at Altiplano. Clean record, decent pay, routine assignments. February 19, 2016, he drew transfer detail for El Chapo. Routine, nothing special, just another prisoner being moved to a different wing. Castillo's mistake was simple. He believed his badge and uniform meant something. Believed R. Castillo, Guard 4721, represented authority, protection, the system. To him, Chapo was just another inmate, restrained and powerless. During the walk down the corridor, fluorescent lights humming overhead, the smell of disinfectant and concrete thick in the air, Chapo made a comment about Castillo's wife. Crude, specific, designed to provoke. The prison audio caught it. Castillo snapped. He spat directly in Chapo's face in front of 12 witnesses. Other guards immediately pulled him back, faces showing pure fear. The transfer continued, incident written up in official reports. Chapo said nothing, just wiped his cheek and stared at Castillo's badge, memorizing every detail. Within 2 hours, 4 people outside the prison had Castillo's home address. Same day, 3 p.m. Chapo was in the armored transport, already gone. Castillo was finishing his shift, changing out of his uniform, heading home. Inside Altiplano, a corrupted guard, one of several on the Sinaloa payroll, made a single phone call from a prison landline. 47 seconds, according to call logs later examined by federal investigators. The guard spoke in rapid Spanish slang, used code phrases, passed along badge number 4721, physical description, shift schedule. On the other end, a Sinaloa contact received the information, made 3 more calls. Mexican prison corruption wasn't a secret. It was documented, investigated, accepted as reality by everyone who worked in the system. By 6 p.m., cartel operatives had identified Castillo's car, his home address in Guadalajara, his wife's name, where his kids went to school. Castillo went home that evening, told his wife about an incident with a prisoner, didn't mention it was El Chapo, didn't say he'd spat in the most dangerous man in Mexico's face. He slept that night while a surveillance team watched his house from a parked car down the street. Police could have protected him if he'd reported the threat. He never did. He had 48 hours left to live. February 20th, 2016, Saturday. Castillo went to work like normal. Two Sinaloa vehicles followed him. Professional surveillance, two cars rotating positions, four operatives total. They knew his route before he left his driveway, knew where he'd park, knew his routine better than he did. Castillo's badge swiped into Altiplano at 7:58 a.m., timestamp recorded in the security system. The surveillance team waited outside, patient, taking photos, logging movements. Inside the prison, the cartel operatives were waiting for final confirmation from higher up the chain. The Sinaloa cartel operated like a corporation. Decisions about hits flowed from leadership, even leadership sitting in maximum security. Chapo was in isolation, federal agents monitoring his every move, watching for any communication attempts. But the coded system was already activated. Guards passed notes, made brief calls, used phrases that sounded innocent to anyone listening. Castillo worked his shift, noticed nothing unusual, treated it as a normal Saturday. He didn't know he was marked, didn't feel the surveillance, didn't sense the machinery already moving around him. By 6 p.m. that evening, the kill order was confirmed through 3 intermediaries, none of whom would ever be connected to Chapo in any prosecutable way. Saturday evening, February 20th, Castillo came home to his family, had dinner with his wife and kids, watched television. His wife noticed he was quiet, asked if something was wrong. Long day, he said. He didn't mention the spit, didn't mention Chapo, wanted to forget the whole thing, move on, pretend it hadn't happened. His name badge sat on the kitchen counter next to his car keys and a family photo. Ordinary objects, daily routine. Outside, the surveillance team confirmed everything. Home address verified, family count accurate, no security, no bodyguards, no protection. They reported back through encrypted messaging. Target unprotected, easy grab, minimal risk. Cartel hits in Mexico often targeted families. Documented terror tactic, designed to send messages that lasted. That night, Castillo watched the news, saw a brief story about El Chapo's transfer to enhanced security. He changed the channel quickly. His wife later told police he seemed different that night, wouldn't explain why, kept checking the windows. He went to bed at 11 p.m., set his alarm for 6 a.m., kissed his wife goodnight. He'd never see his family again. The surveillance team watched lights go out in the house, confirmed everyone was asleep, relayed final position reports to the snatch team already moving into position. February 21st, 2016, Sunday morning, 6:45 a.m. Castillo left for work. Same routine, same route, same timing. 2 blocks from his house, a black SUV blocked his car at an intersection. 4 men exited, faces covered, guns drawn. They pulled Castillo from his vehicle in broad daylight, middle of a residential street. His badge ripped from his uniform during the struggle, fell to the pavement. Witnesses later described it to police. Quick, professional, violent, over in 30 seconds. Castillo dragged into the SUV, driven away. His car left running at the intersection, driver's door open, radio still playing. Police found the vehicle within an hour, his badge on the ground nearby, blood on the driver's seat. Kidnappings in Mexico weren't rare. Hundreds documented annually, many in broad daylight, many never solved. His wife reported him missing by 9 a.m. when he didn't show up for his shift. Police knew immediately what it meant when they found the badge. They couldn't link it to Chapo yet, no evidence, just suspicions and fear. By noon, Castillo was in a cartel safe house basement, 200 miles from Guadalajara, beginning 24 hours of torture that would end with his tongue removed and his badge pinned to his corpse as a signature. Same day, February 21st, El Chapo sat in his isolation cell at Altiplano. No visitors, no phone calls, constant camera surveillance. Federal agents watched every movement, looking for any sign of communication, any attempt to reach the outside. They saw nothing. Chapo ate his meals, exercised during his allowed hour, read books, behaved like a model prisoner, calm, methodical, knowing. The guards who'd witnessed the spit were quietly transferred to other prisons within 48 hours. Official explanation was routine rotation. But everyone understood. The Mexican government had reorganized Altiplano's entire security structure after Chapo's 2015 tunnel escape, implemented new protocols, new surveillance, new everything. None of it mattered. While federal agents watched Chapo eat breakfast 200 miles away, cartel interrogators were asking Castillo one question over and over. Why did you disrespect him? Chapo never directly ordered anything traceable. No phone calls to track, no messages to intercept, no evidence of command. The system was designed for deniability. Information flowed up, decisions flowed down, but nothing connected. Chapo could sit in his cell, completely isolated, while his organization executed orders he'd never officially given. The torture had already started. Castillo had less than 12 hours before his body would be dumped. February 22, 2016, early morning. Castillo had been held for 36 hours, location unknown to police, family, everyone. The interrogation wasn't about information, it was about message. Cartel interrogators kept asking the same question. Why did you disrespect him? Castillo screamed, begged, tried to explain it was impulse. Heat of the moment meant nothing. They showed him his prison badge during the torture sessions. This is who you were, they said. The punishment was symbolic. Tongue removal while he was still alive, for the act of spitting, for the disrespect of speech. According to the medical examiner's report later filed, the tongue was removed pre-mortem. Castillo was conscious, aware, experiencing everything. Cartel torture methods were documented by human rights organizations, police files, journalistic investigations. Symbolic punishments were common: hands for thieves, tongues for informants, or those who spoke against leadership. The badge was cleaned, carefully prepared, meant to be found pristine when they dumped the body. Castillo was kept alive through the procedure, bleeding controlled, message being crafted with professional precision. They dumped him before dawn, 5:30 in the morning, in a drainage ditch joggers used as a running path. The badge was centered perfectly on his chest, pinned through with a knife. February 22, 2016, 5:30 a.m. Two joggers found the body in a Guadalajara drainage ditch, area known for cartel dumping. They called police immediately, both in shock. Castillo was dead, tongue completely removed, name badge pinned to his chest with a kitchen knife driven straight through. Police arrived within minutes, recognized the badge number from the missing persons report filed 2 days earlier. Crime scene photos showed deliberate placement, badge centered on the chest, knife vertical, professional presentation. Forensic teams found fingerprints on the badge that didn't match the victim. Someone had handled it carefully, cleaned it, prepared it. The badge became three things simultaneously: evidence in a murder investigation, a message to every guard in the Mexican prison system, and a warning about disrespecting power. Guadalajara had been a cartel dumping ground for years. Hundreds of bodies found between 2010 and 2016. Documented by federal investigators, human rights groups, journalists. Police knew this was cartel work, knew it connected to Chapo, couldn't prove it. Media barely covered the story, just another body in Mexico's endless cartel violence. The badge was cleaned before pinning, professional touch, meant to be found pristine and readable. The message was sent. Everyone in the prison system received it. February 23, 2016, the story leaked to the press. Prison guard murdered after El Chapo incident ran in several newspapers, buried on inside pages. Other Altiplano guards were terrified, requesting immediate transfers, refusing Chapo-related assignments. Prison administration publicly denied any connection, claimed it was random cartel violence. Coincidence. Castillo's widow received his badge from police, attended his funeral holding it, cameras capturing her grief. Federal investigators opened a case focused on how the hit was ordered from Maximum Security. They examined phone records, interviewed corrupted guards, traced the communication chain. They found the 47-second call, found coded language, found nothing prosecutable. The Mexican government investigated thoroughly, found no direct evidence linking Chapo to the murder. Chapo was never charged, never questioned, never connected officially. Insufficient evidence of direct command. The system designed to contain him physically couldn't contain his influence, his reach, his power. Investigators understood what happened. Everyone understood. But understanding and proving were different things. The badge's journey wasn't over, though. It would travel from evidence locker to family possession to something else entirely, transforming with each movement, carrying weight that had nothing to do with plastic and metal. March 2016, 1 month after Castillo's murder. Guards at Altiplano walked on eggshells around El Chapo. No eye contact, no unnecessary words, total deference. Castillo's death accomplished exactly what it was designed to do: complete intimidation of the prison staff. New guards were briefed, shown crime scene photos of Castillo's badge pinned to his corpse. Unofficial training, unofficial lesson in reality. Chapo's treatment improved subtly. Small luxuries appeared, enforcement relaxed slightly, nothing major enough to document, but everything noticeable. The Mexican government faced a problem. They couldn't guarantee secure detention of their most famous prisoner. He'd escaped twice, now demonstrated he could order murders from inside maximum security. In January 2017, nearly a year after Castillo's murder, El Chapo was extradited to the United States, partly due to security concerns the Mexican government couldn't solve. Castillo's family moved to an undisclosed location, living in fear of retaliation for any cooperation with investigators. The spit cost Castillo his life, but it also exposed the system's complete failure. Walls and cameras and protocols meant nothing against money and fear and reach. The badge became legend in Mexican law enforcement, a story told to remind people that power has nothing to do with uniforms. Between 2017 and 2019, El Chapo was tried in U.S. federal court in Brooklyn, the trial covered by international media. Prosecutors presented evidence of billions in drug revenue, decades of violence, corruption spanning governments and institutions. In July 2019, Chapo was convicted on all counts, sentenced to life plus 30 years in ADX Florence, Colorado, the supermax prison designed to hold America's most dangerous criminals in complete isolation. Back in Mexico, Castillo's badge continued its transformation into legend. The story circulated among prison guards as cautionary tale, passed down during unofficial training sessions, told in break rooms and locker rooms. Never disrespect the powerful, even in chains. The unofficial motto that replaced official protocols. New guards heard about the spit, the 72 hours, the tongue removal, the badge pinned to the corpse. They saw the crime scene photos, understood the lesson. The Sinaloa cartel continued operations despite Chapo's imprisonment, leadership structure intact, business ongoing, proving the organization was bigger than any single man. Castillo's name became shorthand for a fatal mistake, for believing systems protect you when they don't, for forgetting who holds real power behind the theater of walls and badges and official authority. The badge itself became object of mystery and speculation. According to police records, it was logged into evidence after being photographed at the crime scene, processed for fingerprints, documented in case files. Then sometime in late 2017, it disappeared. The official explanation was administrative error, misfiled paperwork, bureaucratic confusion. Nobody believed it. Rumors spread through law enforcement. The badge was stolen by a corrupted evidence clerk on cartel payroll, displayed in a secret museum somewhere in Sinaloa territory, where cartel leaders kept trophies of their power and reach. Other versions claim Castillo's widow received it anonymously years later, delivered to her door in a padded envelope with no return address, no note, just the badge she'd held at his funeral, cleaned and polished, a reminder that some debts never expire. A third story suggested federal agents quietly destroyed it, trying to erase a symbol that undermined their authority. The truth remained unknown, and perhaps that was the point. The uncertainty kept the legend alive, kept the message fresh, kept guards afraid. Whether displayed as trophy or destroyed as embarrassment, the badge's physical absence only strengthened its symbolic presence. The badge that started as routine identification, R. Castillo, Guard 4721, transformed completely across 3 days in February 2016. Castillo wore it proudly for 6 years, clipped to his uniform every shift, symbol of authority and law, and the system he believed protected him. After the spit, after Chapo's eyes dropped to memorize those numbers, it became target marker, a piece of information that traveled from prison corridor to encrypted phone call to surveillance team to hit squad. Pinned to his corpse with a knife driven through plastic and flesh, it transformed into message visible to everyone who mattered. We know who you are. We reach everywhere. Walls mean nothing. Badges mean nothing. We forget nothing. Now it exists primarily as story, as warning, as lesson told to every new guard, every new federal agent, every outsider who needs to understand how power really works in Mexico. The badge proved that authority isn't about uniforms or titles or concrete walls. It's about reach and fear and the ability to touch anyone, anywhere, even from inside maximum security, even while sitting in isolation under constant surveillance, even while the world watches. Real power operates in the gap between what systems claim and what they can actually protect. Castillo believed in the system. The system failed him in 72 hours. The badge stayed polished, stayed official, stayed intact through its entire journey, from uniform to pavement, to evidence to legend. But the man who wore it learned too late that some prisoners are never really locked up. The chains just make them more dangerous, more willing to demonstrate power in brutal, symbolic ways that echo long after the bodies are buried and the investigation's close. Power isn't about freedom, it's about whether people fear you when you're in chains. Chapo answered that question clearly, definitively, brutally. The badge carries that answer still, wherever it is now. In a cartel museum, in a widow's drawer, destroyed in an evidence room fire, or simply lost to time and bureaucracy. The location doesn't matter anymore. The lesson remains.